I'm going to describe my friend's birthday party last month. We went for a delicious meal in an Italian restaurant and then to a couple of bars. There were about 10 of us, some close friends, some old friends, and some work colleagues. We started the evening at the restaurant. We had a mouth-watering pizza and talked about our lives, joked around and had a little gossip. After that, we went to a couple of quiet bars in my town. That was nice, because I'm not a fan of noisy places. How did I feel? Well, it was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves very much. And it was great to meet old friends who I haven't seen since my childhood. It was really interesting to find out about what they are doing in their lives. What else? I can't remember all the details, but let's just say that everybody had a great time. That's all I have to say. Okay, I'm going to tell you about my favorite book. Well, books, Harry Potter, because it's a series. This book tells us about the adventures of a young wizard called Harry Potter and his friends Hermione and Ron. I've read all the novels in this series more than twice, I assure you, and I guess it took me a few weeks to read each one from cover to cover. The reason why I like these books is, well, because I've always been a great fan of fantasies. The author writes in a very vivid way, and she describes so well that makes my imagination get going, and I really can imagine the fantasy world in which the main characters live in. I think that there is also some deeper themes that run through the books, like death, survival, love, oppression, and every person I know has interpreted them in totally different ways. I really enjoy the adventures in each series. In each book. I love the fact that every book connects to the other one, and after you've read all the 7, you can really see that the whole story was just thought well through. Obviously, I've seen all the films as well, which were really enjoyable, especially that you could just what you had in your imagination, you could finally see on the screen. And I'm very disappointed that the whole adventure's all over. That's it. Right, that's a tough one. I can't say I really have a favorite item of clothing, but I'm going to tell you about a t-shirt I bought on holiday when I was in Greece last summer. It was kind of a spontaneous decision. I was having a stroll by the beach, and actually I was just looking for some sort of protective sun hat, but then I spotted a striking t-shirt. I think it was the combination of blue and white colors, which represented the Greek flag. But it wasn't tacky or cheap looking like a typical souvenir t-shirt. Anyway, I decided to buy it there, and to have it as a reminder of my holiday. So why do I like it? Well, I couldn't say it's the most fashionable item of clothing I own, but like I said, it reminds me of my holiday in Greece. Whenever I wear it, it just brings back memories of the sun, the sand, the sea, and the wonderful food. I also like it because it goes well with all my other clothes, my jeans, trousers, and jackets. And I can wear it anywhere. When I'm relaxing at home, when I'm out with my friends, anywhere except, of course, at a formal event, in which case I'll probably wear something more elegant. But generally, I'm not really into formal clothes. I would like to tell you about my friend's postcard collection. Let's see. At the moment, I think she has about 500 cards in her collection. Yes, really. Some of the postcards are of places she's been, but most are postcards from other people. She usually uses the postcards to cover her walls instead of wallpaper. She's even talking about covering her ceiling with them. She gets about 20 to 30 new postcards a month, and to be honest, I've no idea how she receives that many. And she plans to grow her collection to about 5,000 or even more. But I think she's being a bit unrealistic, especially nowadays when people prefer to post a status update on Facebook than post a card to their friends. What kind of person would enjoy collecting postcards? Well, probably someone who loves traveling and exploring new places. Or just somebody who likes to dream. And definitely a very old-fashioned person. But someone who wants to collect thousands of postcards? Well, that's a very unusual person. I wouldn't even begin to speculate on what kind of person they are. Well, I would like to tell you about my decision to go to acting school. I've always been interested in acting and the theatre ever since I was a little girl, so I'll say it's a passion of mine. I've always dreamt of taking part in a play or even a TV show. But even so, I wouldn't say it was an easy decision. Very few people succeed in acting in my country, and it's very difficult to get into the best acting schools. They tend to favor certain types of look, and it also helps if you have good connections. So I'll say it was a very risky decision of mine. And of course my parents weren't too happy about it, as you can imagine. What were the results? Well, I think so far I made the right decision by following my passions. It's a bit too early to talk about the practical results. I guess I'll find out and you'll see in a few years' time. But I recently auditioned for the main role in a play and I was offered the part, so far, so good. Why was it important to me? Well, this was a decision about my future, about my whole life. I could have chosen something to study, let's say, more reliable, like chemistry or medicine or mathematics. But instead, I took a bit of a gamble. And like I said, the time will tell whether I've made the right decision or not. I'm going to describe a dish I cook all the time. It's called chicken jalfrezi. It's made of chicken, chopped tomatoes, onion, garlic, green chili, and some Indian herbs and spices. To make this dish, first I chop the onions, garlic, and green chili. Next, I fry them in a pan with the Indian spices. Then I add the chopped tomatoes and simmer everything for about 20 minutes. Finally, I add cooked chicken and chopped coriander leaves and simmer for another 10 minutes. When the dish is ready, I usually serve it with a basmati rice or naan bread. I think this dish is very easy to make. But if you want to make it the traditional way, it takes more time and it's a bit more complicated. Personally, I don't have much time for cooking, so I make it the quick way. One place I would really like to visit is Paris. I guess that's because people say it's the world's most romantic city. Who would I like to go with? I think I'll probably go with a few of my friends. Holidays are normally a bit boring if you travel alone. And also it's much safer to travel as a group. I'll have to be the trip planner, because that way we could go to all the places that I want to go. But of course I'll be open to suggestions. I don't really fancy backpacking, so we would be living in a 4 or 5-star hotel and order room service every day. I heard that French chefs are the best in the world, and the food they cook is just wonderful. There are many famous designer brands in France, so of course window shopping would be on the itinerary. On top of that, we would visit all the museums, art galleries and monuments. I know a holiday like this would be very expensive, but I hope that one day I can realize this dream. That's it. Right, that's quite a tough one. I like all my family members, but I'm going to talk about my uncle. He's achieved quite a lot in his life, mainly in business. He started his own company during the 1990s, which was a pretty good time to start a business in my country then. Now he runs a few pizza places in my city. But that's not the reason why I like him, obviously. No, I admire him because he's a very charismatic person. When he's around, he really lights up the room. Everyone feels his presence. Plus, he has a great sense of humor and a very positive attitude towards life. He gives us all great advice and lots of guidance. Let me give you an example. When I was struggling to decide on what university course to study, he really helped me out, and he made me realize that my passions come first. So, that's all I have to say. Right, I'm going to describe one of my favorite activities, which is watching films. I enjoy watching films at home, but if I have a chance, I definitely prefer to go to the cinema. There's a very old cinema in the center of my town, which is renowned for its distinctive, old-fashioned interior design. If I were to translate it into English, the name would be the Cinema Under Sheep, and that's my favorite cinema in Krakow. I usually go there with my friends, but basically I would go with anyone who's just willing to go with me. So why do I enjoy it? I've never really thought about that. Well, first and foremost, it relaxes me. On top of that, it makes my imagination run wild. For example, when I watch a historical film or costume drama, I try to put myself in the character's shoes and imagine what the world was like at that time. So who would I recommend it to? Let's see. Well, I think anyone who has a lot of stress in their daily life. It would help them forget about the problems, and it's much healthier than drinking alcohol, for example. I'll also recommend it to people who don't take things too seriously. I can imagine that some people might be influenced in a negative way by certain kinds of film, for example, violent movies. So I guess I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. Well, when I have a free day, which is hardly ever, I often visit a nature reserve called the Ojcowski National Park. It's in the southeast of my country. It's about an hour's bike ride from my home, so its location is fairly convenient. Who do I go there with? Actually, I usually prefer to go alone. But sometimes in the summer, I do drag along a few friends with me. We go on bike trips then. I think the main reason I go to this place is to just get away from the hustle and bustle of city life. But of course, I enjoy the fresh air, the wonderful views, and the sounds of nature. So it's a bit different to other places where I could spend my free time, mainly because it's outside the city. I usually spend my free time at the cinema or in cafes, or sometimes just at home reading a book or watching a film. Another reason why it's different is because, like I said, I prefer to go there alone and spend some time in solitude. When I have a bit of free time in my city, I'm almost always in the company of friends. I think in the city, you need to have friends or it can get a bit boring.
Okay, so what would be my ideal home? Well, I think it would have to be a big flat, about 10 square meters. It would have 5 rooms, a bedroom, a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room, and 2 spare rooms. Everything should be modern. Modern furniture, a flat screen TV, and a jacuzzi. There should be plenty of natural light. It should be located in the center of my city, near the market square in my old town, but on a quiet street. Well, I would like to live there for several reasons. Firstly, it's big, and I like lots of space. Secondly, I enjoy entertaining guests, and the flat has everything I need. modern appliance space, and nice furniture. Well, also, I really like cooking, so a big kitchen is very important to me. I would also like to live there because it's well located. It would be nice to live in the center. I often go there with my friends to eat out, visit some bars, go for a walk and so on. I like meeting new people, and the center of my town seems the perfect place for it.
I would like to tell you about an enjoyable meal I had just last week. Actually, it was a pizza, but not just any ordinary pizza. There's a restaurant in my town renowned for its mouth-watering pizza, but I hadn't had the opportunity to visit the place till recently. The occasion was my friend's name day, and we finally decided to go to the Pizza Garden. That's the name of the restaurant. It was me, my friend obviously, and a few other close friends and people from work. We ordered a few large pizzas, each with different toppings. My favorite was the one with tuna and onions. What made the meal so enjoyable was not only the scrumptious pizza, it was also the occasion. It was an opportunity to catch up with some friends who I hadn't seen in a while. On top of that, I must add that the atmosphere of the place was really cozy. The restaurant had this little patio garden with lots of plants, and the weather was perfect for the occasion. We could sit around outside under the warm sun and just relax and enjoy ourselves. And the food, of course. I'm going to tell you about a photograph of my sister Maya and me. I don't usually regard myself as being very photogenic, but this particular photo turned out really well. My sister and I look alike, and you can really see that in this photo. I can't remember the exact date this photo was taken, but it was quite a while ago, I think about 3 or 4 years. It was taken when we were on a holiday in Greece with the family. We've kind of stopped going on holidays as a family together, and that was the last time the whole family was there. As I remember, my father was behind the camera. I wouldn't normally call him a brilliant photographer. I think he just got lucky this time. And of course, having the right kind of camera helped. So I would describe the photograph as just a simple photo of Maya and myself eating fish at a restaurant. And you can see the shore in the background and some kids playing on the beach. I think the reason this photo is unforgettable to me is because it brings back all the great memories of that memorable holiday. And as I said before, I look good in it. I'm going to tell you about my high school. I went there between the age of 14 and 18, which is normal in my country. I think about 1,000 people went to this school. It's one of the biggest schools in my city and the oldest one in Poland. Like I said, I went there between 14 and 18, perhaps 19, so 4 years in total. On the whole, I liked it because we had pretty good teachers compared to other schools in my city. And of course, I made really good friends there. What I didn't really like so much was the fact that we didn't have a lot of facilities there. The chemistry lab, for example, was pretty tiny. But comparing it to other schools, I guess I can't complain too much. Plus, I did quite well in my school leaving exams, so it did its job, and that's the main thing. Right, well, to be honest, I've never attended a sporting event, but I'm going to tell you about one that took place in my country about 2 years ago, the European Football Championship. This was a huge event in my country because it was the first time we had ever hosted a sporting event on that scale. It was a huge opportunity for my country. The event takes place every 4 years, I believe. I have no idea who the next hosts are. Anyway, even though I didn't attend any matches, I did experience the atmosphere, and it was really nice. There was a lot of excitement and a lot of visitors from different countries with their faces painted, waving flags and so on. Like I said, it was the biggest event we've ever hosted in my country, so that's how I'll compare it to other events. And despite the fact that the national team did very poorly, I think it was a pretty exciting tournament on the whole. I remember we had these huge screens everywhere where large crowds of fans gathered to watch the matches. And I was, of course, rooting for my country, although deep down I knew they weren't going to get very far. I'm going to talk about a popular TV show in my country. Its English translation is Dancing with the Stars. I think this is an international TV series. I mean, every country has their own version. I'm not really a fan of this show, but it's hugely popular in my country. It comes out, I believe, once a week. Anyway, this show features a number of celebrities, and they perform some choreographed dance routines with professional dancers. Each couple gets a score from a panel of judges, and at the end of the show, one of the couples is declared the winner. I'm actually not sure why this show is so popular in my country. I guess people are fascinated with celebrities like everywhere else. And dancing is also quite popular, especially among girls. So, in fact, I'll say this show is most popular among females. I can't think of anything else to add, really. I'm going to talk about my iPhone. I would describe it as a flat, rectangle-shaped object, shiny black, and weighs about 100 grams. As for its uses and functions, the iPhone is extremely versatile, and its true power is in the downloadable apps that you can install. The device has loads of functions. Apart from using it to chat with my friends and making phone calls, I use it to send emails, check the weather forecast, browse the internet, listen to music. I even use it to watch movies while I'm on the train. It's very important to me because it makes my life a lot easier. Let me give you an example. Last Saturday, I was supposed to meet a friend of mine for lunch. He invited me to this new Italian restaurant. Although he gave me directions, the street was unfamiliar to me and I got lost. But that wasn't a problem because I just took out my iPhone and used the GPS app to help me get there. I just entered the destination address and that was it. What else can I say? Oh, I also keep a lot of important information in the phone, like phone numbers, emails, even bank details. So, in fact, I'll say my iPhone is indispensable. I just can't imagine living without it.
In this final video, I'm going to present some typical mistakes that candidates make in their speaking. So, let's start with some vocabulary mistakes. One typical mistake is using very formal vocabulary. The IELTS speaking test assesses your ability to use everyday, educated spoken English. Many words and phrases are too formal for speaking. Here are some examples.
The weather in my country is very cold. Moreover, it snows a lot.
The word moreover, like the word furthermore, is usually a bit too formal for speaking. Instead, you can say this.
The weather in my country is very cold. What's more, it snows a lot.
Here's another example.
In my country, people eat a lot of meat, for example, beef, pork, chicken, turkey, and so forth. Personally, I eat meat several times a week.
The phrase "and so forth" is a little formal, so try to avoid it. The word several is also a little formal. You can use it, but don't overuse it. Otherwise it will sound unnatural. Instead you can say,
in my country, people eat a lot of meat. For example, beef, pork, chicken, turkey, and so on. Personally, I eat meat a few times a week.
Another mistake that IELTS candidates make is that they think they always need to use long, complex sentences to get a high band. This is not true. Very often, native speakers prefer to communicate what they want to say with short, idiomatic expressions. In the speaking test, these expressions would count as less common vocabulary, which can help you get a high band. Watch this example.
At the moment, I'm studying in Poland. I am going to stay here for 3 more years.
Now compare it to this.
At the moment, I'm studying in Poland. I'm here for another 3 years.
The phrase, "I'm here for another 3 years," is shorter and simpler than "I'm going to stay here for 3 more years," but it is also less common and sounds very natural. Think about phrasal verbs. Very often, native speakers can replace half a sentence with a simple phrasal verb. For example, it sounds more natural to say, "He got away with cheating," than to say, "He cheated and nobody punished him for doing that." If your exam is very soon, I advise you not to learn lots of phrasal verbs because you might use them incorrectly. However, if your exam is not very soon, then you can try to study some phrasal verbs in context, observe native speakers using them, and try to make them part of your speaking. Another mistake that candidates make is using connectors incorrectly. They know that it helps to use connectors to get a high band, but they try to use them without understanding how and when to use them. Let me show you an example.
As for cooking, I enjoy making pasta.
Did you notice the mistake? The connector as for was used incorrectly. As for is like if we're talking. We use it when we want to start talking about one aspect or subtopic of a wider topic.
Well, I think public transport is quite efficient. As for private transport, there are many problems, especially heavy traffic.
This time the candidate used the connector correctly. The topic was transport. She first started talking about public transport. Then she started talking about private transport, and she introduced this aspect or subtopic of transport by saying, "As for private transport." Let's look at another typical mistake, repeating the words in the examiner's question. Now, I mentioned in an earlier video that it can be a good idea to repeat the examiner's question if you need time to think about what to say. Like in this example.
How popular is TV in my country?
It's pretty effective, right? However, you should not do this.
How shopping habits have changed in my country in recent years is they have changed a lot.
Firstly, this is not grammatically correct, not 100%. Secondly, it sounds very unnatural to answer a question in this way. It is better to begin your answer in a simple, natural way, like in this example.
I think shopping habits have changed a lot in my country.
So these are just a few mistakes that candidates make in the IELTS speaking test. If you want to become aware of your typical mistakes, I've included a bonus ebook in this package called Typical Mistakes in English. Read it and you will learn which mistakes you are making. This is the end of the IELTS Speaking Test Masterclass video series. Make sure you watch these videos again and read the ebooks that come with this package. Good luck in your test. Congratulations on reaching the end of the course. Let's do a quick review of what you have learnt. At the beginning of the course, I explained the band criteria, in other words, the skills that you need to get a high score. These are fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. I then gave you some general tips on what you should do and what you shouldn't do in the speaking test. After that, you learned some general preparation methods and activities to improve your speaking before the test and deal with nerves during the test. In the second part of the course, we looked at vocabulary and the importance of using less common synonyms if you want to get a high band in the speaking test. You learnt lots of examples of less common synonyms. In the third part of the course, you learnt how to express your opinions, connect your ideas, and give examples using a variety of different words and phrases. In the fourth part of the course, I presented some tips on how to improve your grammar and pronunciation, which is 50% of your speaking test score. In part 5, you learnt how to develop your answers, manage your time, and avoid silent pauses, which will improve your score for fluency and coherence. I would like to thank you for buying this course and wish you the best of luck in your exam. Remember to review the videos and notes as much as you can and practice the preparation tips in part 1. Good luck!